love the alley pick because of the satisfaction I get by finding purpose in things that other people don't see. It gets more and more difficult to find treasure in trash because most of the store-bought items nowadays are junk, made to fall apart so you have to buy it again. Dollar stores are multi-billion-dollar industries built around cheap products that just aren't made to last. Most furniture made today doesn't even contain any real solid pieces of wood. If it gets wet, it disintegrates and falls apart. For today's video, I head to Menards to take a look at a product that claims to stain and finish wood in one easy step. Is this just another garbage product, or will its claims surprise me? Let's find out. So how much money do you think Minwax has made from this Polyshades product? There's a pretty big selection on the store shelves for this stuff that I've seen at all the home center stores that I've been to. Now last year I did a review on Polyshades in a can, and I thought that this stuff was garbage. So when I saw Polyshades in a spray can, well, after my eyes rolled back into my head, I decided that I would put this stuff to the test. Now, obviously, I have a preconceived notion that this stuff is junk. So, in order to win me over, this product is going to have to prove to me several things. Number one, that it's more than just a spray paint stain in a can. Number two, it's going to have to prove that it is a one-step stain and finish. And number three, I expect a reasonable finish that I can apply and make a nice finish on a fine piece of furniture. Is that too much to ask? So I'm going to test this now on 4 samples of wood. An unfinished oak, a finished oak with stain and polyurethane, unfinished pine, and then finished pine with stain and polyurethane. You're supposed to be able to spray this stuff right on top of the existing finish. So I'm following the instructions very carefully. I've sanded all the surfaces with 220 grit sandpaper. I've cleaned them thoroughly. There's no dust on them. I'm going to shake this can for 2 full minutes, and then I'm going to give it a light coat just to seal the wood, and then wait 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'm going to give it the second and final coat. Let's see what it looks like. The instructions say to apply a thin coat to seal the wood. Do not attempt to achieve complete color coverage with the first light coat. Here's a side-by-side comparison. So I moved my operations out to the garage. You probably don't want to spray this stuff in your house. In fact, I think my wife's looking for me. She hates it when I stink up the house. The can doesn't say how many coats you're going to need. It only says to repeat if necessary. Be sure to lightly sand with fine sandpaper or steel wool between the coats. Then clean off all the dust. So let's get a close-up of our 4 samples of wood after 2 coats and drying for 24 hours. Here's the wood that started off as unfinished pine. It actually looks better than I thought. It definitely doesn't have a complete finish, so I'm going to be applying a 3rd coat on this sample, but remember, the more coats, the darker the color. Here's the sample that already had stain and poly. This is a more complete finish. I think it looks pretty good, actually. It changed the original color, so I'm pleasantly surprised that it actually looks better than I thought. It has a nice glossy finish even. Here you can see a pretty clear difference between the 2 pine samples after 2 coats. Let's look at the oak samples. Very similar results. The right side offers a complete finish and the left side still needs another coat. Back to the garage to give our 2 samples that started out as bare wood a 3rd coat of Polyshades. Let's recap. At the start of this video, I said that I had 3 expectations of this product. Number 1, is it more than just a stain spray paint? To me, a great stain is one that penetrates the wood, bringing out a rich color and enhances the wood grain, not obscuring it. Then, a protective and complete even finish. This stuff tends to obscure the grain. It's not bad, but it's not what I would call a quality finish. Now, as to whether or not it does any wood penetration with the stain, I'm going to do one more test. I'm going to scrape off the finish and see if there's any stain left in the wood. I scraped all 4 samples of wood, and on each of them I do see stain penetration into the wood grain. I'd say it passes my first expectation. It's more than just a spray paint finish. Number 2, is this a one-step finish? I would say yes. It does qualify as a one-step finish, but you do have to be careful when you're spraying this stuff on. The more coats you spray, the darker your finish is going to be. But you need enough on here to get a good finish with the polyurethane that's mixed in. Otherwise, it's going to leave it with a dull, unfinished look. Number 3, would I use this on a fine piece of furniture? I wouldn't. That's my preference. I would much rather go with the 2-step process, stain and polyurethane. This stuff does tend to obscure the wood, and I'm a wood guy. I love to see a beautiful grain on the wood. When would I use this? I suppose if I picked something up at a thrift store and want to give it a quick finish, I would probably use this. I will say though that it's way better than the brush-on stuff. I didn't like this at all. So if you're going to grab one of these, take this one. I think it's a few more bucks, but it's definitely better than this. Thanks for watching Alley Picked, where one man's junk is my hardware store. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to Alley Picked, and if you want to be notified of future videos, click on the bell. Till next time, I'll meet you in the alley.